let me kind of clarify something else. I guess you got a traffic ticket at some point in time.
I got a couple.
Okay. Was there one around Memorial Day last year, or May 24th or so?
Of last year?
Okay. Yeah. I'm just looking at some things here. You got I guess a traffic ticket.
The last one I got was a speeding ticket and a seatbelt violation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the one.
When it was, I don't know. I know where I was, but
was anybody with you?
No.
You're by yourself.
I was by myself.
Okay. So traffic ticket and speeding violation. And was Casey around following you?
I was actually talking on the phone to her, ironically. But I don't think it was last year. I think it's been a year, a good year.
Well, that may be. I'm just trying to see that you actually got a seatbelt.
I got a couple speeding and seatbelt violations. One was on Moss Park Road and one was on Curry Ford.
Do you know if Casey ever used a fake ID or had a fake ID?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, because I guess you would have known her after
she was 21.
After she's of age.
I don't.
Okay, so you didn't hang out with her back in high school when she?
No, we didn't socialize outside of high school.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break for a second. Okay. Well,
time is 1:58. Go off record.
I just want to, go ahead and do your phone.
Time is 2 o'clock. We are back on record.
Okay, I've got just a few follow-up questions. When you were describing the situation where after Casey had gotten out of jail and she caught her mom signing her name to an email or a text or something and said she screamed at her and said, "You're an idiot and you're stupid." Was that, from your experience between her relationship and Cindy, a pretty volatile relationship?
What do you mean?
I mean, I guess I never screamed at my mom or dad.
And I didn't either, and I told her that is no way to talk to your mother.
How was Cindy reacting when she did that?
She just accepted it.
Was it your impression, either from your experience with her or from that interaction, that was not out of the ordinary that she would talk to her mom that way?
I don't think it was normal. To me, Cindy doesn't seem the type of person who would stand for that, especially from her child. I don't think that she would stand for that, but given the situation, I'm not a mom, I'm not a grandma, but I think that at that point I would do anything, listen to anything that it takes to get my grandchild back, get my child back.
Had you, when in the past, when there were, for example, you said there was an ongoing battle between Cindy and Casey over the issue of Cindy kind of overstepping her bounds, playing mother as opposed to letting Casey be the mother. Do you know in those situations when they would battle over it, whether it would escalate?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, Casey had never said to me, my mom, touched me, or my dad touched me. They never. I don't know of anything that's ever happened.
Well, actually, that's part of the question. Not just physical, but do you know whether they get holler at each other and get hot, even if
I've never witnessed it besides that one time.
Okay. Over the phone, when this ongoing, how long a period of time do you think the ongoing battle went on?
I think her whole life. I think Kaylee's whole life.
Kaylee's whole life. Cindy is it fair to characterize the way Casey would describe it to you, that her mom was acting like she was really the mom of Kaylee, and that was upsetting to her, like overstepping her bounds rather than just being the grandma, you're stepping on my toes as the mother. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say that it was always like that. Again, I was very rarely around Cindy, Casey, and Kaylee all at the same time.
When it happened, is that a fair characterization?
Yes.
What Casey would be griping to you about on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. And she said other times Casey would call you and talk about she was in a fight with or an argument with Cindy. What other kind of things did they have problems with?
Her wanting to move out, not registering for school. That's what she told me.
And she being Casey?
Casey, yes.
And Casey would, in other words, Casey would tell you that she was in an argument with her mom because her mom did not want her to move out and Casey
Yes.
wanted to move out.
Yes.
And why wouldn't her mother want her to move out? What was Casey telling you? Oh, was it over Kaylee?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what it was. I don't remember exactly, but my assumption would be that because then Cindy would never see Kaylee. Cindy or
So,
George, for that matter.
While you don't remember the specific word for word, is it fair the gist of what you recall about it was Cindy didn't want Casey to move out because of her wanting to have Kaylee in the home?
Yes.
How about you had said also she had called, if I heard right, that there were times that Cindy would call and she'd be having arguments with her dad, George. What would they argue about?
You mean Casey call?
I'm sorry, what I said Cindy,
Yeah.
when Casey would call, that she had also had arguments with her dad, George. You remember what that would be
They
about?
just didn't get along, from what Casey told me. I don't remember her ever saying anything specific. She would say her parents were getting a divorce, they were fighting, and her dad, she would just say her dad was just hateful, just not nice
To
to
her.
her, to Casey. But never anything specific. She was more specific about the arguments with her mom.
And the stuff about George being hateful, was that kind of an ongoing deal too?
Not so much.
Okay. How often would you hear that from her?
I think I maybe heard that twice, 3 times maybe.
What about a relationship with Lee?
They were like best of friends.
Okay. Just going back for a minute about when you went over to the house with some of the other group of friends while Casey was in jail and you were kind of trying to piece together who this babysitter could be or where she could be, and
Yes.
Cindy was there.
Yes.
At any time during that gathering, did Cindy say anything about indicating, well, I know the babysitter's for real because
No.
Kaylee would talk about Zanny's puppy or dog, anything like that?
No. The one thing Cindy did say is that there was a list of items that she found on on a notepad that had, like if you were packing for like the beach or something, that had like those kind of items, like things you need to get to the store, juice and Kaylee's favorite snacks. I don't remember what they were, but those were on the list, and like things that Kaylee would need if Kaylee was going to the beach. And I think she had mentioned that there was like a dog leash, dog bone, dog treats, something like that on the list as well.
Okay. Now, this list that Cindy told you about, would that have been during this meeting we were just talking about?
She had mentioned it, yes.
Was it something that she had found recently, in other words, indicating it looked like she was packing up to go to the beach when we last saw her, now that I've seen the list?
I think she just found the list. I don't know if she knew when it was from, though.
Okay. Was the context of her bringing it up, she may have been planning to go to the beach when she was last here?
Like Casey was planning to go to the beach. She wanted us to go to the beach and like put flyers around and stuff.
I gotcha. So she thought that was a lead as to potentially where Kaylee was.
Yes.
In the conversation that you actually had with Casey after she got out of jail, I heard you say that when she would start to talk about any of the kind of hotter issues about what was going on, you would back up. You didn't want to be getting information.
No.
Can you remember the things, just again, not exact words, but the gist of times she would start into a subject where you would back out of it, what those things she would start to bring up were?
I've mentioned the trunk, the chloroform in the trunk, her saying, when all this is said and done, I have so much to tell you. And that someone had been telling her to say what she's been saying. But nothing more than that.
And when
that I
she
can
said
remember.
someone's been telling her to say what she's saying about what?
Everything. I'm assuming that,
Okay.
I'm assuming she meant everything.
I mean, did she act scared, or what was the setting? I mean, what was her demeanor when she's telling you that?
She did seem a little, like, on edge, I guess you could say. She wouldn't, like, sit near her window. She would not sit out near her window at all. She wanted me to sit near her window.
Okay.
But that's really like the weirdest thing to me.
And when she said someone was telling her to say everything she said, she didn't give any indication of who.
Again, they.
And when she said, but it was a plural, they.
Yeah.
Okay. And it wasn't in any way, shape, or form as Zenaida Gonzalez.
That name was not said.
Okay. Or Zanny, the nanny, or anything
That
like that.
name was not said.